By the time the book made it through its 8 drafts, he no longer saw a wooden triple with a cobblestone. By this point, I'd learned that Anatole was something of a klutz, and so he's the one who trips over the cobblestones. But now here he is talking about being there in the 16th century. I was there when the first tiger was delivered to the castle. It arrived by horse-drawn cart. 2 knights in full regalia rode along beside it, carrying the red, green, and black banner of Occitania. In the 16th century, knights were only used for spectacle. Gunpowder had rendered them obsolete for warfare. The tiger was inside an iron and wood box with only a small slot for food. The box reeked after the 3-day journey from Occitania. Who knows how long it had been kept inside it before that. In 1523, kings and queens didn't concern themselves about the humane treatment of animals. To be fair, they weren't overly concerned about the humane treatment of humans either. The tiger was a gift in anticipation of the upcoming wedding between Princess Tulia of Esquivita and Prince Dalrymple of Occitania. The marriage had been arranged 12 years earlier, when the princess was only 3. I had been in my workshop dissecting beetles when I was startled by a tug on my tunic. "I'm betrothed, Nato," the 3-year-old princess had proudly told me. She couldn't pronounce the L in Anatole. There was no door to the archway that separated my workshop from the castle corridor, but I'd hung 2 curtains made of beads and shells on either side of it. These not only added to my mystique as court magician, they warned me if anyone was coming. Princess Tulia, however, had a way of slipping through the curtains without making a sound. "Congratulations," I replied. "Who's the lucky man?" Her face scrunched up in confusion. What man was I talking about? Since then, gifts had been sent back and forth between the 2 kingdoms. At first, these were simple tokens of friendship, but as the wedding drew closer, the gifts became increasingly extravagant as each king tried to outdo the other. When the tiger arrived, the wedding was only 6 months away. Once the Occitanian knights had departed, King Sandro raised his hands to the heavens and bellowed, "What am I supposed to do with it?" So this is now later on. As she grew up, of course, he's talking about Princess Tulia, she came to understand what it meant to be betrothed and accepted it as her duty, even though Prince Dalrymple was more than 20 years older. "Love is for poets, Anatole," she told me with the haughty authority of a 13-year-old who believes she understands the way of the world. "Only peasants can afford to marry for love. For merchants and traders, it's just another business contract. And for royalty, it's an alliance." That was 2 years before Pito came to the castle. Inside my workshop, I brewed a kind of tea from the powdered wings of the African moon moth. From what I'd been told, Tulia had been in a constant state of hysteria since Pedo had been locked in the dungeon. I added galangale and turmeric to the tea. When she was young, we had tea parties in my workshop. While I sipped some rare and fine variety, she especially enjoyed anything made with galangale and turmeric. I removed a urine glass from a cabinet. In the 16th century, any physician worth his salt kept a ready supply of urine glasses. It was a symbol of the profession, much like the stethoscope is today. I owned more than a dozen, as I had a propensity to drop things. I could diagnose most diseases simply by the color and odor of the patient's urine. I'd find a cure by mixing various ingredients with the urine and then observing the change. I was able to detect 24 distinct shades of yellow. It wasn't Princess Tulia's urine I needed, however, but her tears. One more part. One of the things I like that made me like Anatole so much was his kind of pettiness. He, it's not overt. He's not awful, but he felt like he was underappreciated as the court magician. And now, 500 years later, he feels like he's even more underappreciated, because nowadays magicians are no more than entertainers and tricksters, whereas he considered himself part magician, part physician, part scientist. So this part reflects that. He's been sent to the market because there's going to be this all-important chess game between these two people. One's Pedo, one's a man named Cuvio. And Cuvio has a bad hangover, and Pedo's maybe going to be a little seasick. So they want everyone to be at their tip-top shape for the chess game, so they send him to the market to prepare something for Pedo's sickness and something for Cuvio's hangover. Cuvio had given me a satchel of coins, and my first purchase was a burlap sack to carry everything in. It took a long time to find the petrified robin's egg, but then anchovy paste was directly across from it. I filled half my sack with dry hot peppers. I would only need one pepper for the morning after potion and one for Pedo's seasickness. The rest was for the scurvy that Cuvio had mentioned. Scurvy was known as the sailor's sickness. After being away for long periods at sea, sailors' gums would rot, their teeth would fall out, and their muscles would become weak. Many died from the disease. My thought was that the hot peppers would ward off the evil spirits, just as a fire in the night keeps wild animals at bay. 21st century physicians would snicker at such a notion. They'll tell you that scurvy results from a lack of vitamin C. Then they'll shake their heads at those woefully ignorant 16th century physicians who didn't know enough to give these sailors an orange or a lemon to eat. To listen to them, you get the impression that if you peered into a microscope, something we didn't have then, you'd see a bunch of A's, B's, C's, D's, and E's floating around, like soggy cereal in a bowl of milk. Vitamins aren't the be-all and end-all. There are an infinite number of fractions between the numbers 1 and 2, and an infinite number of tones between what are now the accepted notes on a scale. Similarly, there's also exists an infinite variety of qualities and benefits found between the vitamins A, B, C, D, and E. Most of my magic came from the stuff between the vitamins. Oh, and by the way, it is now known that a hot pepper contains more vitamin C than an orange. Also, dried peppers are more easily stored aboard a ship and don't attract rats. But what did I know? I was just a woefully ignorant 16th century physician.